Welcome to the Real World EV Test, and this week we have the 2024 Honda Prologue, brand new EV from Honda. It was a joint venture with GM, so it's built on the Ultium platform. We are supposed to get 273 miles on a full charge out of an 85 kilowatt hour battery. That gives us a 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency. So that is what we're shooting for, is 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. It is very cold today and a little windy. I'll give you the update on that a little bit later. We'll have to see how well this does in the cold weather here in the Midwest. Anyway, let's take a quick look at this before we head to the gas station, which is going to be our starting point. All right, so the color on this is called North Shore Pearl, which when I first heard the name, I actually thought it was going to be a white vehicle or a white vehicle with a yellow tint to it, but no, it's actually a tealish blue. I kind of like it. It's not too bad. I really like the wheels on this. It does have 21-inch wheels. But let's go ahead and take a look at the back. This is the all-wheel drive model, 288 horsepower. Trunk space, there's a decent amount, not a huge amount though. I think it's about 25 cubic feet of space technically. See if there's anything going on underneath here. Little bit of extra space down here, not a lot. Is there any power back here? No power. This is the Elite trim, so I kind of expected to have some power or something back here, but nope, nothing special back here. Take a look at the back. Here you go. I do like the color combination in here. This gray and the white looks really, really nice. See, there's a lot of room back here, flat floor. You got your vents back here, some USB plugs down there. All right, let's go take a look at the front. And that's gonna keep dinging while I have the door open, because apparently it doesn't like having the door open and the car be on. So, same color combination. Seats are okay so far. They feel a little stiff, but not too bad. We'll just see how the trip goes today. We're gonna be driving for about 2 hours. Well, there you go. That's a little bit about the Honda Prologue. So let's head to the gas station. We'll get everything reset and get the test started. Just a little disclaimer. I did turn on the battery conditioning on this like it was gonna go get charged, so they would heat up the battery. So everything will be warm for this test and ready to get started. Okay, we are at our gas station where we start all of our tests, and we are all ready to go. I did turn the battery conditioning on this morning while I was driving over to our parking lot and then over here to the gas station, so that the battery is nice and warm and ready to go. That way we don't have to worry about it pulling extra power to try to heat up the battery while we're driving, with it being so cold. So it should be warm, the cabin's warm, so no extra power should be going out to heat all of that stuff up. So we're gonna get this test started. I'm gonna reset everything right now. So here's the screen for the battery conditioning, and I got all that done. So I'm gonna hit stop right there. And we're gonna go to our trip information. Vehicle status into trip. So here is our 2 trip information. So we've got current trip, and then we have trip 1, trip 2. So trip 1, trip 2, I'm gonna add that to the driver's display so I can see it right there. And then we are going to reset both of those. So reset 1, reset, reset 2, reset. We're gonna go out. All right, so we're gonna be following trip 1 or trip 2. Both of them have been reset. I'm ready to go. I'll have both of these on here. Probably show you this screen just so you get to see some other stuff other than just the trip information. But you can actually see this car only has 300 miles total on it. So this is brand new. All right, I see the battery has 165 miles of range right now. We were up to about 70%, I think, whenever I got in the car this morning and I had 192 mile average, but it's been heating up the cabin, it's been heating up the battery this whole time. So yeah, so we are ready to get started. Let's not waste any more time and get out on the road. We're gonna head to our first town. On the way, I'm gonna give you parameters of the test, just kind of how we do this, and then I'll update you as we get ready to enter town. So I'm gonna give you a little parameters about the test. We're gonna start this out with the setup for the car. So we're gonna drive in normal mode, not sport mode, not eco mode. We don't wanna maximize or minimize the results here. So we're gonna be in normal mode to start. Climate inside the car is going to be set between 68 and 72 degrees. Right now it's set at 70, and I have the heated seats on automatic, so it'll warm me up or cool me off, whatever it needs to do. And that is because it is 28 degrees outside. We have a 12-mile-an-hour wind coming out of the west, so we will have a headwind at the beginning of this drive and a tailwind at the end of the drive. It probably will warm up about another 10 degrees or so, but I don't know if we're going to see that. It may not happen until later today. So we're going to be getting some cold weather estimates here with this efficiency test. We're going to drive 5 miles an hour over the speed limit because that is the average of what people drive over the speed limit. So we're going to be at 60 on the highway, 75 on the interstate, and between 35 and 50 in town. Now for the test itself, we drive 100 miles, we drive 50 miles in one direction, we turn around and drive 50 miles in the exact opposite direction. The reason we do that is to negate any climate conditions that we have today and terrain. On the first part of the trip, we're going to drive through 2 towns. In those 2 towns, we are going to drive loops through the towns just to make sure we hit some stop signs, stop lights, a little bit of traffic. Then we're going to get up on the interstate. We're going to drive 10 to 12 miles on the interstate. That should make it to about our 50-mile marker, and then we'll turn around and we'll head back, and we'll do all of that in reverse order. Back to the gas station, and then we will check our efficiency. So we'll look at our miles per kilowatt hour and see if it is accurate to what the EPA says that we should get versus what the car says we're getting. And depending on what the car says we're getting, then I'm going to give you an estimated range of what that could be. So that might be different than the 273 miles EPA says. So we'll see how that all turns out. We're getting ready to head into our first town, so I'm going to give you guys an update where we're at, and we'll make a loop through the town, and then I'll update you again as we head back out on the highway. We've entered our first town, and so far we've gone 4.6 miles and 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So we're a little under what we should be, but we are coming into town, and this is where EV's shine is here in town. And it does look like we've got a train going through, so we may have to just sit here and wait for a train for a little bit, but that's what happens in the real world. So we'll just have to see how this pans out. Train is already gone. We're gonna sit here for maybe a minute or so, which is fine, that's normal. And we're gonna make a loop through this town. After we make the loop and I head up back out onto the highway, I will update you again where we're at. We made our loop through town, and we're back out onto the highway heading to our next town. And so far we are looking at 8.6 miles and 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So we're not anywhere near that 3.2, but we'll just have to see how this turns out because it is a cold day. Even though everything was heated up and warmed up, it's got to maintain all of that. So we may see a more realistic winter driving efficiency today. But so we're headed to our next town, and I'm going to give you guys a little more information about this Honda Prologue. So this is Honda's first EV for the United States. Now they did have the Honda E over in Europe, and it did not do well at all. But this Prologue, complete different story. This thing is one of the hottest EVs right now. And driving this today and the last couple days, I can kind of understand why. It's just simple. Everything is laid out in here just calm, relaxed, very Honda. You know, it just feels good in here. One problem that I've had so far is that the armrest over here has no padding. It is like there's like hardly any padding in the armrest on the doors. They need to fix that because this is the Elite trim, and you would expect cushy everywhere, and my elbow is already starting to hurt just from driving a few miles. The other thing about this, and part of the reason that it is selling so well, is the Honda name. Even though they did go into a joint venture with GM, using their battery technology and their platform, Honda just has a sense of reliability with consumers. So if you had to make a decision between the Chevy Blazer EV, which is a new vehicle, or Honda Prologue, which is a new vehicle, a lot of people are going to the Honda Prologue just because the design is nice. It's nice, it's simple, it's very Honda. People see that, it makes sense to them that this is going to be a reliable EV. Now, it is new, and we don't know how reliable it is going to be yet, but I'm enjoying driving this car. I feel comfortable, relaxed. I feel like I'm just cruising in a nice car. I definitely like the design of it. I think that it looks great. It feels great. The suspension is dialed in really well. It's nice and soft and just a relaxing drive. No, it's not going to corner like crazy. It's going to corner better than most SUVs just because you have this big 85 kilowatt hour battery in the bottom of here that's going to stabilize everything. But you're not going to be taking this through, windy, curvy roads at a high speed. It just would not be a good idea. It's not set up for that. Now, we talked about 273 miles of range out of this 85 kilowatt hour battery. And that is not a massive amount of range for that size of a battery, but that's because this is all-wheel drive, so it is using a little bit more power to run everything, to drive. If you go to the front-wheel drive version of this on the base model, you can actually get 294 miles of range. So now you're pushing into that 300 range, and that is excellent, and that is probably a huge draw for people. Your EX, your base model, which is the EX from Honda, is front-wheel drive. You get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. It's your choice. And you get 296 miles out of the front-wheel drive, and that's going to start you out at $47,400. Now you go up to the mid-range, which is going to be your touring. Same setup. You get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and you're looking at $51,700. If you go on up to this Elite trim that we are driving here, you're going to start at $57,900, and it's all-wheel drive only. The one that we have right here, as tested with destination fee and the option, which the only option was added, was this North Shore paint for like $455. So this one's coming in at $59,750. So we're getting ready to come into our next town, so I'm going to give you guys an update where we're at. And then we're going to make a loop before we get up on the interstate. We entered our second town now. And so far, 30.2 miles driven, 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So we're kind of holding that 2.5 right now. But we are in town, and these things are great in town. We're going to make a loop through this town, and then I will update you again before we get up on the interstate. We made our loop through town, and so far we are at 37 miles driven and 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour still. So it's just holding strong there. All right, we're going to get up on the interstate right here. which, you know, the interstate drive is probably going to reduce that even more. But you can kind of see what kind of effect the cold weather is having on this Honda Prologue. You know, the cold weather is not always the greatest for EVs. I mean, you lose gas mileage also in gas cars, but EVs take a little bit bigger hit on their range. Here we go, we're gonna accelerate. All right. Good. Nothing crazy. Like I said, it's only 288 horsepower, but it was just nice and smooth and gradual increase. It felt really good. Very nice, just comfortable. So, okay, 38 miles driven and 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Like I said, that is going to drop up here on the interstate, but I will update you again when we get ready to make our turnaround and head back in the other direction. Okay, we're coming up on our exit off of the interstate. We're gonna, well, actually just to turn around and come back down the other side. We are at 51 miles total, 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour. So not a huge loss. I really thought it was going to be worse than that. But, you know, we might turn around and it may be worse on the back end. Plus, we've got to drive that whole distance again at the same 75 miles per hour. All right. Hopefully it's not too busy up here and we don't have to wait very much, but going around here, we're usually just stop and go, but not too bad. Yeah, we can do a quick pause and right back down the other side. All right, I'm gonna turn and go right back down. And now we're gonna make our entire trip in reverse order. So interstate, through the two towns that we're going to make loops through those also, and back to our starting point at the gas station. All right, go around here, we'll accelerate, get on, and yep, it just accelerates smooth. Got a little bit of a sound to it, which is nice. Not a really high-pitched whine, kind of a lower, just we are accelerating kind of sound. So very inviting, very comfortable. It's probably why they're selling so many of these. All right, got a little bit of a drive here on the interstate back to the town, and I will update you again once we get there. So far, we are at 53 miles now and 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. So we have dropped off just a little bit, making that loop and accelerating back onto the interstate. All right, after we make this trip, when we get close to getting off the interstate, I will update you again before we head into town. Getting ready to get off the interstate here, and 65.6 miles and 2.2 mile per kilowatt hour. So we are down a little bit more, but we're getting off the interstate and we're going to be heading back into town where we'll make a loop, and then I will update you again after the loop and we head back out onto the highway. All right, we made our loop through town, and right now 74.1 miles, 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. So yeah, it's this cold temperature is really eating this car's efficiency up. So we are going to our next town, and we do have a little bit of a tailwind now that might help us a little bit, because we had a headwind at the beginning. But I will update you as we enter that next town. We have entered our last town on this trip, and we are at 95.5 miles and 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour. I don't know if we'll make it to the back to the 2.5 or not, but we're going to make a loop through this town, and then I will give you an update when we head back out onto the highway and back to the gas station where we started all of this. We made the loop through town and we're back out onto the highway. And you can see we are at 99.2 miles, 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour. This is probably going to register around 103 to 104 miles, which is funny because we do the same route every single week with every car, and it varies from just under 100 to over 100, but the highest I've seen recently was around 102. But we'll have to see what the final number comes in as their distance, but every car just for whatever reason reads it different. Anyway, we're heading back to the gas station now where we started this, and when we get there we'll look at what our final mile per kilowatt hour is, and then we'll do some calculations on what we think the estimated range would be for this cold weather day. All right, we have made it back to the gas station. Getting ready to pull in. And we are just gonna go right around here. All right, we are finished up. And you can see the trip information off to the left. We've got 103.2 miles, which just blows my mind. I don't understand these cars sometimes. 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. If we go over here, you can also see the current trip was the last thing that I reset, because I actually shut the car off and then turned it back on to reset that before we took off. So it was reading 2.5 before this one was. This one just hit 2.5. So we're going to go with 2.5 because that one's been at 2.5 for quite a while. So it's probably about mid 2.5. So it's pretty accurate. Since we know that that's well under the 3.2, something else I forgot to point out. When we started this morning, I stated that it was 27 degrees outside, and you could see it on the screen every time that I updated you guys what the temperature was. So this is basically what your cold weather efficiency is going to be in this car, more or less. Tomorrow it's supposed to be like 50. But it's supposed to be raining all day. So that's not a great time to do this test either. So I think it's a good idea that people want to know what it's going to behave like in the winter also, so they're not surprised. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do some calculations on what the range we think you're going to get based off of this miles per kilowatt hour. So what we know is that this has an 85 kilowatt hour battery. EPA rates it at 273 miles on a full charge. So that comes out to 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. So basically all we have to do is now reverse that. So we ended up with 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and we just need to multiply that by the 85 kilowatt hour battery. So 2.5 times 8.5 equals 212 miles. That's quite the drop. Now, that's not going to be, it's not going to be the same in every scenario. And with your app, when you pre-condition your car for you to leave in the morning, it's probably going to heat up your battery and everything like that. So it may not be quite this bad, but that is quite a drop. And we didn't do anything crazy, nothing that we haven't done in any other car or any other EV. So it's just a cold weather situation. The 2024 Honda Prologue Elite all-wheel drive real-world EV efficiency comes in at 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, giving you an estimated range of 212.5 miles. Cold weather sucks. That's all I can say. Anyway, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button so it spreads it out to all those other Prologue lovers. And then click on one of the videos that's on the screen. One is a review of this Honda Prologue. The other is something YouTube chose. I think you're going to like them both. You have a blessed day, and I will hopefully see you in that next video.